focusing on sustainable development. Cab drivers looking for answers. And the Christian Council speaking out against the violence.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. The University of the Bahamas taking a leading role in igniting a formal and open discussion on sustainable development for Grand Bahama. During the opening of a two-day conclave at the Grand Lucayan Resort, the Deputy Prime Minister outlined sustainable development goals adopted by the Bahamas and 192 other countries in the United Nations efforts to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure prosperity for all. Sabrina Brown has details.
Deputy Prime Minister the Honourable K. Peter Turnquest says sustainable development is fundamentally about a collaborative effort in advancing shared goals. He says the problems the country faces today are complex and demand more from the education system than is currently being delivered.
Our educational system still relies on the colonial mode of rote learning, which is only one of the ways it is currently outdated. We need a model that develops analytical skills and critical thinking in our young people. With this rapidly changing world, we are in uncharted territory in so many ways. So our future leaders need the power of their imaginations and the fullness of their creativity to think their way through solving problems.
The DPM says one of the ways sustainable development is being mainstreamed is through the National Development Planning process, which has specific focus on Grand Bahama in areas like food security.
Under the Bahamas Poverty and Discrimination National Development Goal, the target is for the Bahamas to be a nation free of poverty and discrimination, including discrimination based on gender, nationality, and disabilities. Grand Bahama is highlighted under this area when it comes to achieving food security and ending hunger. The plan calls for an expansion of farming in the Family Islands with the allocation of Crown land for the creation of hydro farms and mariculture facilities in Grand Bahama.
The maritime sector is also a key area of focus.
The plan supports the relocation of the Bahamas Maritime Authority to Grand Bahama, and I can tell you that's difficult. Nassauvians don't like to let go. Leveraging the Grand Bahama Container Port and Shipyard to attract additional investments into Grand Bahama, and a communication strategy for a strengthening maritime sector.
Another aim of the national plan is for the Bahamas to have a competitive business environment for economic success.
The National Development Plan calls for the government to reduce the inefficiencies and overlaps identified in the current system and to remove the silos which lead to competition and turf wars. It calls for projects to be evaluated using clear, objective criteria that reduces political involvement and maximizes the value and benefits from the incentives provided. The plan also calls for a separate investment promotion arm or sister agency to focus on domestic and international promotions, including the promotion of Grand Bahama.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
Cab drivers up in arms again. They claim that the business is in peril because of unfair competition. Tonight, a former president of the union is making an appeal on behalf of all cab drivers on the island. Taxi cab drivers on Grand Bahama say that they are at their wits' end when it comes to the conditions that they endure, and they are calling for all laws that govern the transport industry to be enforced. President of City Cab and former taxi union president James Kemp is calling on the Grand Bahama Port Authority to uphold a former agreement.
We worked with the Port Authority and we made the agreement, and we didn't like the agreement, but we tried for Disney. We bought Disney, and at the time it was to bring in Disney ship. They insisted on buses. We got the buses, invested our own building, everything into the busing, and they reneged. Well, here we are today. The tour operators was supposed to pay the union through the port $2 a head. They did it for probably a couple months and they stopped.
He is also expressing concerns about the conditions in which the vehicles are housed. He says that they are expected to keep clean vehicles, but the dusty park area is not conducive.
If you look around, this is one of the holding areas for the taxis. If you see the filth, the nastiness. Guys, I just lost 3 batteries last night. People from the community come take the batteries. How do you replace it? You go to the port and you tell them? I said they ain't responsible. Look at the space they have. See the space they have there? Empty space. Why can't these cars be in there? That's where they used to be with Mr. St. George.
Grand Bahama Taxi Union member Harold Curry also weighing in with concerns. For some time now, the struggle between taxi drivers and tour operators has been heated. Curry says that they claim that a certain tour company is allowed to operate above the law.
Everybody that comes in here on their own today, they're going on these tour operators because there are people on the ship selling it on the ship, which is illegal because the law states that it must be booked 1 day before the journey occur, before that cruise ship leaves the destination. But they're allowing the road traffic, the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Transport, they're all allowing these people to come here and break the law.
Both men say that cab drivers have had enough, and they are calling for resolutions before it's too late.
All we asking for law to prevail. We could come here and have JJ, jungle justice. We don't need that. I advocate and I will never mess up tourism or try to. And the people cheers, so you all should go and demonstrate and fight.
If the government don't do something about it, we will shut the whole place down one day, whether they like it or not. We don't want to do it because this is good for the economy and this is good for us. But if we're not making any money anyway, what sense let one man live and everybody else die? It don't make no sense.
3 persons injured today in an accident on West Sunrise Highway. The 2-car collision occurred around noon involving a silver 2010 Suzuki sedan and a black BMW. Reports say the Suzuki overturned off the eastern side of the road on impact. The female driver of the Suzuki and a male passenger and the driver of the BMW were all taken to hospital for medical attention. The female driver is listed in serious but stable conditions. Both vehicles were extensively damaged. Investigations are continuing into that altercation on Easter Monday that left 2 men dead. The disturbing incident sending shockwaves across Grand Bahama. Tonight, the Grand Bahama Christian Council is also weighing in, admonishing Bahamians to come together and take a stand against violence. Natalia Hall has the story.
Preliminary reports.
According to police, the incidents took place at a birthday party on Xanadu Beach when some uninvited guests got into an altercation with some of the persons who were hosting the party. The video went viral on WhatsApp, showing the aftermath of the altercation. According to reports, during that altercation, 44-year-old Nathan John of Pinders Point stabbed 31-year-old Rashid Gibson about the body. It is alleged that John also stabbed and injured several other persons attending the party. Senior immigration officer on Grand Bahama, Ruiz Gibson, the father of Rashid Gibson, then shot John with what police called a properly licensed firearm. Rashid Gibson and Nathan John were pronounced dead a short time later. The other persons who sustained injuries were taken to hospital by private vehicles. Now police say they have the gun in their possession, and unofficial reports say Ruiz Gibson is no longer in custody. The president of the Grand Bahama Christian Council calls it a sad situation that took place on a day that Christians around the world were celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ.
From the Grand Bahama Christian Council, we give our condolences to the family members. And then we see a father who's probably defending his son, trying to protect his son, having to make the ultimate decision, which leads to the loss of life. And it tells us that there's something out of place in our community that all of us need to cause all of us to look at ourselves as a people and see what's happening amongst us.
He says residents must pray for the community to ensure that these unfortunate situations do not continue to take place.
In my prayer is that we do not come to the place that we just see this as normal. This is just another activity of the day. No, I think we need to realize that these are the things we need to see how we can hinder from happening And I encourage all of us as Christians to be praying for our community.
The president of the Grand Bahama Christian Council says the church has a major role to play in building the communities in a positive way. He says the church must become more unified and focus more on guiding young people.
How to solve problems without violence, how to deal with no, how to show each other courtesy and decency, and how important it is for us to realize that human life is very important and that we need to value one another and we need to get that message out, and the church needs to get that message out more than ever.
It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues in just a moment.